Since purchasing the BSA R12 CLX Pro, I've been raving about it, being so impressed with the engineering of this rifle that all my other rifles don't seem to get a look in these days. So while I've still got a few days before I have to go back to work, I've decided to have a bit of a shoot off, matching one against another just to see how they compare. The Springer shooters may find this interesting, as most of my rifles are quite old break barrels and still going strong after all these years. The first rifle I'm going to be shooting is another PCP rifle, and that's the Ultra CLX, a wonderful little rifle and would always be my weapon of choice in a pest control situation, despite it performing well whenever I take it down to the shooting range. I'm going to put it up against the BSA Lightning XL SE GRT. Some of you may think that this is an unfair match, but after shooting this rifle for some time now, I think it's more than capable of holding its own against the PCP. So let's get them out in the garden and look at how they perform. Each rifle will get 6 shots each, the Ultra taking the top 2 rows and the Lightning taking the bottom 2. Well, that's the Ultra doing exactly what it's designed to do. Accurate, consistent, a real joy to shoot with. That's not a bad start, considering how long it's been since I last shot a break barrel. A little bit rusty, but with a bit more practice I should be on target. Certainly can't blame the rifle. With a break barrel, it's all down to the shooter. So, the next two we're going to look at are the iconic BSA Meteors, which I'm sure you've all heard of and probably owned at some time. But these two were made about 50 years apart. This one is the Mark IV Meteor Super. Now the chassis is exactly the same as the first version of the Mark IV, but BSA made a couple of changes to the stock by introducing a raised cheek piece and a rubber recoil pad to the butt. Other than that, both Mark IV versions are identical. BSA claimed they sold over 1 million of these rifles, and I can quite believe they did, simply because they were so well made, reliable, affordable, and so easy to get your hands on. Some people will remember most households having a mail order catalogue, whether it be Kay's catalogue or the Littlewoods catalogue. I remember in our house it was always Marshall Ward. To a young child back then, it was like the book of dreams. You would sit there flicking through the pages wishing you could have one of these or one of those, and once you managed to get past the lingerie pages, you came across all the new bikes and toys, but also airguns. Who would imagine today you could buy an airgun for as little as 99 pence for 100 weeks? And this is the latest version of the Meteor Super from BSA. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe this is the Mark 7. I'm sure somebody will tell me if I'm wrong. All I know is that, as Meteors go, this one looks delicious. BSA have the Italian company Minelli making their stocks for them, and what an amazing job they do. This version comes with a comfortable butt pad, lovely checkering on the breech and repeated again on the pistol grip, a built-in safety catch and fibre optic sights, which some people like and others don't. Personally, I think the way BSA have re-imaged the Meteor is nothing short of gorgeous and a pleasure to shoot with. But hey, this isn't a beauty pageant. Let's get looking down at some targets and see how the new Meteor holds up against the old. Same as before, 6 shots from each rifle. The Mark IV shooting at the top 2 rows, the Mark 7 at the bottom 2. Not sure where that one was meant to go. I think I'm rushing myself a little bit here. As I said, I am a little bit rusty with springers. I think I need to be getting a bit more practicing by the looks of things. Well, that's not bad for a gun what's over 50 years old. I think it's holding its own there. We'll see how the other goes anyhow. Well, I'll take that. Certainly think I need a bit more practice with my springers. I think I'm more impressed with how the Mark IV performed, considering it's not had a lot of use and it's over 50 years old. So yeah, in the right hands, more than capable guns. I think that's all testimony to BSA and their build of quality guns. I mean, they're still producing, results like that after all this time. So, going back a little bit further, these next two are the BSA Airsporter Mark II, made in the early 60s, making them almost 70 years old. Owning one as a kid, I was so impressed with it I bought a second one. Really accurate, lightweight, and a real pleasure to shoot with. I just love how simple the open sights are. Just flip them up into position and away you go. And how the pellet loading tap flips up automatic each time you cock the rifle is quite charming and a nice feature. I've always thought when fitting a scope, go for the best you can afford, but these two are fitted with the BSA 3-9x40, more than adequate for how these rifles get used, and at around £50 a set, they won't break the bank being so affordable, and being BSA, you know they're going to be decent enough for a bit of garden target practice. One thing I think is worth mentioning about these air sporters is the dovetail rails. The first one has the usual dovetail on top of the rifle, but the other one has a short dovetail cut into the rifle at two separate points, which wouldn't allow the scope mounts to fit. I had to get a different set of mounts and file a curve into the mounts to allow them to sit on top of the rifle. Something I never noticed when buying them, but definitely something to look out for when you're looking to fit a scope to a rifle. So let's get back at it, and as before, 6 shots from each rifle and see how they compare. And now for the other one. I think I need to calm down a bit looking at those last 2 shots. I think I'm getting a bit cocky and rushing it a bit. I'm so pleased with that, how that went. I'm finding it difficult now to put the gun down. Well, considering these rifles are almost 70 years old, I can still shoot like that. I've got to be happy with that result. And finally, one last rifle in my collection. Yes, it's another BSA. The rifle that probably was responsible for BSA getting involved in the airgun business. The Lincoln Jeffries patent, made under license by BSA in 1905, I believe. The fact that it still exists and still firing after all this time is testament to the quality that BSA produced, and I just had to have one for my collection. Whenever people talk about the Industrial Revolution, they generally think of Isambard Kingdom Brunel and all his achievements that are still around to this day. Well, personally, I would say BSA are the Brunel of the arms production industry. Now, to be honest, I've only ever shot one pellet out of this rifle, just to see if it did still work. So you're going to be seeing the results fresh with me for the first time. I've set out a larger target and moved closer a few yards because I've no idea where these pellets are going to go. So wish me luck and fingers crossed, eh? Well, I think that is amazing. Over 100 years old. Not sure when it was last used with any purpose, but personally I'd call that a result. And while we're looking at this particular rifle, I just wanted to share a few images of how BSA advertised this rifle 100 years ago. Personally, I find it hilarious and don't think you'd get away with it today. Give your boy a manly gift, a BSA air rifle. A BSA air rifle is a gift that your boy will receive with enthusiasm and treasure for many years to come. It must not be confused with cheap air guns, which are little better than toys. A BSA air rifle will give match rifle accuracy up to 10 yards and can be used all year round, indoors and outdoors, and if used with the BSA target holder and pellet catcher there is no fear of damage to walls, etc. Oh why, I could imagine what our lass would say if she come home and found a pellet catcher mounted to the living room wall. She'd wrap the bloody gun round my neck. A Christmas present of distinction, the BSA air rifle. The man who doesn't love a good air rifle has been born without one of the natural instincts possessed by normal Britishers. Britishers? I didn't even know that was a word, I had to look that up. These are the reasons why we ask you to consider the BSA air rifle as an out-of-the-ordinary Christmas present, one which will be fully appreciated not only by the adults, but by the boys and even the ladies. And this last one just cracks me up. The country's going to war, and BSA are thinking, how can we cash in on this? So the advert reads, undoubtedly the most appropriate Christmas present for 1914. At the present time, almost everybody desires to prepare for own defence. The principal object is to become expert with the rifle. No licence is required to permit the use of the BSA air rifle in the house or garden. That's it again, in house. It's going to be kicked out soon, this fella. A range of 6 yards is enough, and shooting may be conducted with safety and accuracy at the kind of target recommended. The young people and the ladies should be encouraged to practice. You can imagine the scene now, can't you? When young lads see Germans running up High Street, and straight away somebody shouts, "Fix bayonets!" They're all running into the kitchen, getting the dad's best carving knife, lashing it to end up barrel. And I certainly don't want our lass learning to shoot. My days would be numbered. So you can forget that one, BSA. I sometimes think a lot of people don't realise just how vital the BSA have been for this country and the sacrifices that they made over the years. None more so than the 53 employees that lost their lives during an air raid in the Second World War. On the 19th of November 1940, the German Luftwaffe conducted a devastating series of air raids upon the Birmingham area, the main target being BSA guns in Small Heath. On that fateful night, 53 employees lost their lives in the attack, refusing to leave their workstations and head to the safety of the air raid shelters, instead standing firm to continue production for the war effort.